Hello, and thanks for joining me today. My name is Jeff, and you're listening to episode 24 of the Comic Book of the Day podcast. Hello, and welcome back to another edition of the Comic Book of the Day podcast. Today's comic book is another of the DC Digest series. This is actually the second book in the DC Digest series, Best of Blue Ribbon. This is Best of DC Blue Ribbon Digest number 2. This was published in December of 1979 by DC Comics. Now, this one was one that I absolutely remember having. This is one that, in fact, I would probably say that there's a good chance that this was probably something that I purchased and might have been one of the first digest books that I purchased as a kid. I think this might be the first one that I actually purchased and probably is responsible for my love of digest comics. That one and the Superman. This one in particular has a wonderful, wonderful cover by Wally Fax, is the name. This is the title of this book is 100 Pages, a 40th Anniversary Special, and this is the Batman, right? So this is the People versus the Batman, Alfred Armchair Detective, The 1,000 Secrets of the Batcave, The First Batman, Murder at Mystery Castle, The Cry of the Night is Kill, and finally ending with The Joker's Five-Way Revenge. So this is a 40th anniversary special in 1979, which would have been 40 years after 1939. So they're taking the 1939 anniversary of Detective Comics number 27, which is the first appearance of the Batman. And this is 40 years later, celebrating his 40th anniversary at DC Comics. So this one is 7 thrillers, including a novel-length battle with the Joker. That last story, by the way, the Joker's Five-Way Revenge, is probably considered one of the best, if not arguably the best Batman story probably ever written. I know a lot of people have a fondness for Year One, and they have a fondness for The Killing Joke, and so on and so forth. But I think if you had to go with pure monthly published comics, pure standing on their own, these are, just your regular run-of-the-day, run-of-the-mill Batman stories. This story, The Joker's Five-Way Revenge, is probably bar none one of the best Joker stories ever written. This is probably, well, this story is actually credited with bringing back the Joker to his sort of like golden age lethality, I guess. So this is all the way up until this story, which is actually reprinted from Batman 251. The original Batman 251 appeared in around the fall of 1973, and it's just got one of the greatest covers you've ever seen. Hopefully, at one day I can randomly pick this as a comic book of the day, and we can talk further about this story. But this is Batman 251 is a classic Neil Adams cover featuring the Joker and the Batman. This one has the Joker, who's larger than life, holding a giant ace card, the ace of spades, and he's got Batman tied up to the ace of spades, and he's sort of holding him, and it's look out Gotham, the Joker's back in town. So this digest book reprints that story. It reprints a lot of earlier Detective Comics and Batman stories. things from Detective Comics number 387. This goes back to Detective Comics number 246, number 230, 235. There's a story in here, the Thousand Secrets of the Batcave is actually reprinted all the way from Batman 48, and then there's a story here that sort of sets up Alfred it's got a separate story just for Alfred that's reprinted from Batman 31. And then the first, The People versus Batman, which is the first lead-off story in this book, is actually reprinted from Batman number 7. So this is, again, one of the DC Digest reprint books that really collects a lot of stories that as a kid, you would never have an opportunity to get your hands on. This is 100 pages, right? So this is a square-bound small digest book at 100 pages, and it retailed at the time for about 95 cents. I think if you were to look on eBay, you might be able to find this. You might be able to find this book for, in near mint. You might pay around $15 or so for this book. I've seen it advertised. I've seen it advertised for $13, $14, $15 around that price. I don't remember exactly when I got it, but it at the time, remember, in the context of this, there are no, what are the books that are out now? The omnibuses are really big. I have a lot of the DC omnibus books that reprint some of the Golden and Silver Age stories. There's also the greatest Batman stories ever told. I've seen a handful of these Batman stories specifically from this book as well that are in things like the greatest Batman stories ever told, which is a hardcover book that was published, I want to say maybe the late 80s, early 90s. And then there are the DC Archive series, which are just number, I believe, in probably the hundreds. There's definitely more than 100 of those out. But all of those things have happened, since probably the 90s or later. Omnibuses have just become popular in the last 4 or 5 years as sort of large 600, 700, 800 page collections of stories. Those are really, really nice, really popular, really good to have. They're doing a lot of digital retouching on these. Not necessarily retouching, but going back and printing printing from the original plates. So they're high quality. They've been digitally, I guess you could call them digitally remastered. So they're really good quality books with, high gloss, high quality paper. The omnibuses are really nice, but they're probably over the last 15, 20 years, I think a lot of these stories have been reprinted in one way or another in various books. But remember, at the time in 1979, when comic books are relegated to not yet being a part of comic book stores or there being a comic book culture or anything closely resembling that, these were very much considered throwaway books at the time. They were, they were digest books. You were meant to fold them in half, stuff them in your pocket. They were small for you to be able to carry them around. But as a source of stories, they were absolutely fantastic. I mean, where else could you get 7 classic Batman stories for 99 cents that you could just throw in a backpack or carry in the car, or you could just grab it and go, and it wouldn't take up a whole lot of room. You didn't have to worry about keeping it in great shape like a comic book per se. I mean, I probably subconsciously treated digest books probably a little looser than I would have treated comic books. I don't recall in the 70s or in the 80s even, I don't recall being introduced to bags and boards. Certainly not backing boards. I don't believe, it might be interesting to go and look and see when the history of bags and boards started happening in the comic book collecting world. But I can recall in the 80s, there were probably long boxes. I want to say that there were boxes for comics or that people had begun manufacturing boxes for comics. I don't recall probably seeing them until the mid 80s, but there was no collector culture. So there wasn't really a culture of preserving your comics in much the way that there is today. So when I had collections of comics, they would all be, unbagged, raw. I would take very good care of them. I would stack them neatly, or I would have a box for them or something that I would keep them all in so that no harm would come to them. But I believe digest books I probably didn't necessarily treat that kindly. I mean, I wasn't as fastidious in my collection of digest books, because they were basically just, paperback books at the time. Compared to comic books, they were essentially just a paperback version of a comic book. So I probably tended to treat them with a little less reverence than I would have treated a comic book. But that's okay. It was a 95-cent collection of books, and I would get a lot of enjoyment out of it and get to read a lot of stuff that I normally wouldn't have an opportunity to read. So check it out on the website. If you like to see the comic book of the day today, it is comicbookoftheday.com. There you can bear witness to the wonder that is DC Best of DC Blue Ribbon Digest number 2. 40th anniversary of Batman. You can follow along on Facebook. We are Comic Book of the Day on Facebook. We are on Instagram as well, and Twitter. So we are on all of your favorite social media. But if you would like to subscribe, and we always recommend that you subscribe via iTunes or Google Play. That way, every single day, you'll get a brand new Comic Book of the Day podcast in your inbox, and you'll get to join me on another wonderful adventure as we take a look at a comic book of the day. So thank you a lot for joining me. I appreciate your time, and we will see you tomorrow.